A lot of teams, especially in the B2B, are more efficient and need to get things in the market quickly, and it's hard to do that without AI. We know that our audience's consumption is changing as well. This whole bleeding of B2B and B2C, we're all in the end humans. It's just a matter of making sure that we're navigating our narrative in a way that connects to our audiences better. Who is this person I'm trying to impact? What's the story I really need to tell them at that time? And what's the best way to put that story in front of them? By leaning on these automations to bring velocity to that, that's been a key part to be successful.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Search and Revenue. I'm joined today with Blaine Prince, the Director of Digital Marketing at Daxko. Blaine, thank you so much for joining me today.
Nice to meet you, first of all. Thanks for having me on. I'm based out of Austin, Texas. I work for a company called Daxko. We are a software and services company that services the fitness and wellness industry. We work with nonprofits and for-profit organizations from YMCAs to large multi-location fitness facilities and supply them with software and services to help them manage their members and grow their business.
Okay, so then as you are working on those campaigns kind of across channels, within digital marketing specifically, there's a lot of talk about marketing mix and about AI's impact on that, AI agents kind of coming alongside that, that whole entire world. How is that impacting what you guys do? How are you using it and seeing it have impact on your audience?
Yeah, and not to be super cheesy with the whole developer lever system, but like for me, I think we've always struggled with this way of being able to approach scalable innovation, especially in the marketing world, where we want to be always testing, always trying new things, always putting things out on as many channels as we can. And in all honesty, that's super overwhelming and hard to scale for a lot of companies out there, regardless of your size. And so for me, AI has been a really unique way for us to bring some sort of augmented intelligence, a way to really bring velocity to workflows without really losing the quality. At the same time, also keeping things cost efficient to a point that allows us to still produce at the level we need to. So AI for me has really been about the combination of human and machine and the output that we're able to get from that partnership being just higher quality and a way for us to get to market in a quicker rate at the same time. So that's been a really big impact that we've leaned on here, is trying to find unique ways in which we're looking at our processes, our workflows, and the way that we go to market today, and finding ways in which we can little nuanced tweaks and assistance that we can add in AI to really help us bring, again, that extra layer of velocity without sacrificing all the things that we really need in order to go to market.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. How do you draw that line between what AI can help with versus what you want to keep kind of a firm control on, maybe with some specific like tools or process steps? Where are you layering it in like a specific way?
I think there's different ways to do it. I mean, there is just if you're just looking at just straight automations, just looking at workflows you have today, I think it's always just checkpoints that are always good, especially prior to final delivery. For me, that's the huge, way I always educate my team, is that the final output should never be an AI output. The final output should be a combination of human and machine working together to finalize whatever that output is. But I think it's a great way to bring a lot of velocity, especially to early parts of that go-to-market ideation and strategy and planning, that allows really the team to just execute quicker. So there's still this idea that AI is something that can take over a lot of certain little parts and pieces, especially content creation. Generative has been one of the bigger reasons why we're talking about AI a lot today in marketing. And it's great, don't get me wrong, but we still find better outputs by using it as a way to give us a baseline to then work from and get to market quicker. So I still think that that's key, and it's really important, especially with hallucinations and all sorts of stuff, that quality and governance isn't there yet where it needs to be when it comes to these LLMs. So for me, it's still a matter of using it to make us quicker, while at the same time making sure we're not completely becoming, we're not using it as a crutch completely. So
it makes me think about a lot of the ways that I'm seeing teams use it. It frees up some capacity for that, some of the like day-to-day in between checks, or the like baseline foundation of like outlining things up front. So then you can layer in that flywheel of, okay, human editorial or human review. And then, so like you said, the final publication or whatever, the final campaign, the output is some mix of AI and human. When that happens, it frees up, in theory, time and attention for like the human team, right? How do you guys then balance and utilize that freed up capacity? I was talking to
Yeah.
Adam Taylor Brown on the last episode, and he was saying, it doesn't necessarily give you less work; it just signs you up for more because you're more efficient and more productive. Are you guys seeing the same
Right.
thing?
I think it's this whole idea of like once you answer questions, you end up finding more answers. You see it a lot in science, and I think we see it more and more, especially in a data-driven, marketing mindset. Becomes a lot more scientific in that way, and so we find a lot more questions as we start finding answers. And I find that AI does a very similar thing where, first of all, it's not new. We've been using AI and machine learning for years. Google Maps is a
Yeah.
great representation of just simple machine learning. But automated bid systems that we've been putting in place through Google and platforms out there for years now have been using very similar algorithms. And so we've been leaning on this stuff for a while, and being able to do that and get us out of situations where, back in the day we were constantly only doing manual bidding. That really freed us up when we were able to bring in these new automated bidding processes that brought in a whole new layer of data complications, and us being able to analyze and look at ROAS in a new way that we really hadn't been able to dive deep into, because you don't have the resources or the bandwidth to do it at the scale we've done prior. So I do think you end up finding more ways to expand. And I think for me, this has been in my team, we've been able to lean on it to really help us expand and do things that is unique to humans. The ideation and the creative the context, the contextual alignment between campaigns and omnichannel, and the things that AI is structurally able to understand, but in the end still has that uncanny valley ability to just not hit the nail on the head. So for us, like, it's a huge opportunity for us to speed up things in which we have really just become mundane processes, while at the same time opening up the door for us to really focus on things that bring more value and impact into creative visualizations, the way that we actually lean on data and analyze data to optimize the work that we're putting into market. So I think it absolutely adds work in the sense that frees you up to focus on other things that are more uniquely what humans can do. But it absolutely has helped at least take current processes and allow us to get to a place where we can explore and expand into that. And I think that is going to bring a new fire, like, to a lot of marketing departments, a lot of marketing teams, the types of campaigns we see in market, and the strategies we see in market. We should expect an exponential growth and the innovation we're seeing in that, because of the amount of human brain power that's going there versus where we've been historically.
What would you say? Have you noticed a noticeable difference on customer interactions with the campaigns, with the content you're putting out, now that you guys are leveraging kind of that increased pace with AI, but still maintaining the quality? What's the like before and after of the impact on customers?
What really hasn't transformed, and let's just start there, what hasn't really transformed is the types of content in which these platforms are serving to audiences. Really has been a lot the same. There hasn't been a lot of innovation. There isn't a new carousel type out there isn't a new way to put video out in front of people. So there, in B2C, very, very old mentality when it comes to a lot of the types of assets that we're putting into market. And it really becomes more of the types of narratives and the ways you're using those screen time and the box that you have to really communicate that message visually and in a message. So for me, like, it's really been more focused on, how do we take a step back and not only use the data to help us analyze deeper, but then also look at ways in which we can find unique opportunities within these platforms that we haven't been able to lean on before. Video is a huge one in B2B that I think is progressing in a new way where, CTV becomes a lot more relevant to B2B companies, and something that we're leaning on and looking to lean on to because, we know that our audience's consumption is changing as well. And, this whole bleeding of B2B and B2C, we're all in the end humans. It's just a matter of making sure that we're navigating our narrative in a way that connects to that our audience is better. And I think our ability to focus more on that by leaning on these automations to bring velocity to that has allowed us to connect deeper into really thinking about, who is this person I'm trying to impact? What's the story I really need to tell them at that time? And what's the best way to put that story in front of them? That's been a key part to be successful, I think, with putting anything in the market, but it's been super hard to do that at scale. Is just throughout time, because of how much, you really have to put into that effort. And, a lot of teams, especially in the B2B, are more efficient and need to get things in the market quickly. And it's hard to do that without some sort of assistance like with AI. So I feel like that's allowed my team to really take a step back. Yes, be data driven, but at the same time also understand the connectivity between data and narrative that allows us to stand out more in this world, which is increasingly harder to stand out in. So
Yeah, yeah, it is. Do you guys use any AI tools or strategies or processes to better understand your ICP? Like in a B2B sense, those are decision makers usually. It's not just kind of the whole wide world. So you're speaking to like CTV and like some of these other ad platforms. Are you using things in those mediums that help you get right in front of the decision makers, and how so?
I mean, I think with AI, yes, it's always been there, especially when it helps to identify intent based data. For example,
Mm.
I look. I mean, I think there is a whole world that, I mean, we could talk for hours probably about the dark funnel, and this unknown world where everyone can surf the web and we have no idea who they are. But in the end, like, we have got more sophisticated systems today that, whether it be IP tracking, cookie. I know we went through the whole craze of the future of a cookieless world. Seeming, I mean, look, I think in the end we all understand that. I don't know if it'll. I think it looks like we're backing off of that pretty significantly.
Yeah.
So, I think for me, it's been more a matter of, how can we lean on different types of lookalike audience buildings, these new
Mm.
tools that Google's rolling out, LinkedIn's rolling out, these new platforms are rolling out for direct IP targeting and being able to really connect, our conversions to spend. I think is getting more and more. It's getting easier to do on the platform side of the world rather than leaning on outside, data lakes and BI tools in order to help you figure that stuff out. So I think the more that we've been able to do with that, the more that we've been able to connect the dots with our content to be very specific to who we're putting it in front of. We know what households we're putting it in front of, what individuals we're putting it in front of inside of a buyer's group that we're going after, and being able to lean on these platforms to partner with these platforms to be able to do that has been huge and has really transformed, I think, over the last 6 months to a year as far as what we've seen from these platforms and being able to contribute to that. So I think for us, it's been a big transition of trying to move away from just a pure cookie world, anyways, just because we want to be able to make sure we're getting more accurate, as well as we don't want to be victim and stuck in a world where we have to lean on retargeting alone to make sure that we know it's getting in front of people that will actually care about our stuff. So it is an odd environment where we have to spend in order to get the data we need, but we want to spend smartly. And AI has helped us do that in a significant way, whether it be through A/B testing and doing statistical analysis to allow us to see what's working, what's not, in a quicker rate, or if it's leaning on targeting and lookalike audiences that allow us to build lists that ensure that we're putting content in front of people that have buying signals that are similar to the ones that have already bought from us. So I think it's been key, but I think it's been over the last 6 months a huge impact seeing these platforms actually step their game up when it comes to the types of abilities that they're even offering for targeting.
Yeah. Yeah. It kind of felt like one step back, two steps forward as we watched like Facebook strip out a lot of their demographic targeting, a lot of the just really creepy data that we could target people by, and a lot of that leave. But then
Mm-hmm.
it get layered back in with some of these like Advantage Plus type targeting and campaigns and audiences. Do you guys kind of play with or run any data against some of those like Facebook Advantage Plus AI type lookalike audiences or on another platform? Have you guys had any success with that?
We've done a little bit with that. We also are practicing or not practicing. We're also testing that with Google right now as well. Different things that we've been working on with them for developing lookalike audiences based off of competitor lists and pricing pages that
Mm.
those competitors are on. It's really unique and different ways in which we can target similar audiences that are going to places in which we want to attract them to our types of digital presences. So for me, it's been huge to be able to partner with those teams and kind of lean on that because I agree to your point. It's been an odd kind of wave and roller coaster we've been on here of being able to feel like we know who we're putting things out in front of, then going blind, and then having some sense of needing to take a step back and realizing that I come from a world of one-to-one, one-to-few, and one-to-many messaging, and we've had to lean more and more on that as been more blind. But I think it's gotten better, and personalization, especially, is going to be a huge impact with AI. And I think with the data we're able to start getting now with a lot of these platforms and IP targeting and these Advantage Plus, to your point, I think would be are going to be impacted by that quite a bit.
What upcoming marketing trends do you believe will have the most significant impact on the industry in the near future? What's like the next big shift?
I think this is odd because it's been something that's been there for a little while, but I don't think it's just come to market yet. But for me, it's interactive video in a
Mm,
new way. Like we have one great company. They were Wirewax was bought out by Vimeo not too long ago, and they started teasing with overlay interactivity on videos. I think
mm.
video is still. I mean, it's one of the most popular consumption model or ways to consume content out there, and we're not. I don't think it's going away anytime soon, regardless of how much you may love VR and mixed reality. I died on that cross a long time ago. I remember being a part of that craze even 10 years ago, and it's still
Yep.
never been adopted. But still, I think now it's more so this idea of how do we allow layering into experiences that we just haven't been able to provide people before. And I think especially in B2B, video is a unique medium that we lean on, that really can also be a black box in a lot of cases where
Mm.
we're putting it out there, we're kind of just trusting that we're getting the right message across, or it's attacking the right part of the buyer's journey, it's making people take the action we want them to take. But at the same time, it's still a dead end. And I think we've been focused a lot with marketing to make sure that we're doing whatever we can to not supply dead ends, to
Mhm.
allow that, that ability to constantly have a journey. What is the next step that this person needs to take and should take based on where they are? Video has been a great piece, but I think we've lacked historically just being able to really allow people to navigate through videos in a way that's unique. I think we've seen a little bit of this already being teased in B2C. You look at YouTube, one of the bigger changes that's ever happened with YouTube videos, in my opinion, has been chaptering. Like being able to
Mm.
easily look at a video and jump to the parts of your video that matter most to you. That ability to personalize something that is traditionally not personalized is
Yep.
huge. And so for me, like anything that we can add as far as bringing in that new layer of personalization, and I think we're going to see this with the more we can scale, the more we're going to start thinking about how can I make unique pieces of content that really speak to an individual or really speak to a buying group that I'm going after. And I think ways in which we can do that, especially with video, would be through overlays and really being
Mhm.
able to have unique experiences that not only have specific CTAs, but specific call to action, some specific or specific points of interaction that are targeting that persona, targeting that audience you're going after, while at the same time engaging with them in a new way, and not having a dead end with video. So I know it may seem like a little old school in the sense of talking about something like interactive video, but for me, like we're not in the days of Flash anymore. Like I think we actually have some unique things that we can do with interactive overlays, and I think the
Mhm.
more that companies are embedding video into their platform, their websites, the more they're leaning on it. YouTube and TikTok and et cetera as being a medium in which they talk to their customer and prospect base. I think we're going to see more and more interest in how do I make this personalized to the people I'm reaching out to.
Yeah, I think you're right on actually with that. We've been saying video in general is the future for 15 years, right? Video is the future. Everyone needs
Right.
to get into video. Well, now we're several years past that, so it needs to evolve. Like video can't just be
Right.
video anymore. There needs to be something else. And audiences, consumers, even in the B2B world, they are delighted by engagement or customization, something to do that really like makes you stand out. So I think you're right. I think that'll be interesting to watch. Let's talk about data. Let's go from theoretical to kind of practical and confidence based marketing. How do you guys use data to drive your marketing decisions?
What a black hole that can be, right? Like there's a lot of data out there, and I think that, look, I mean, there wouldn't be AI today if it wasn't for data, right? Like if it
Yep.
wasn't for the big data explosion, AI wouldn't exist. So for me, like it's been a part of just who we are, and now it's more of a matter of uh, today. Whenever you're working on marketing campaigns, ideation, putting strategy together, it's less about do I have the data, and more is my data clean? Is
Mm-hmm.
it been structured properly in a way for me to be able to actually get any sort of context out of it? So that's been more so where our minds have been at today is more how are we building data lakes, how are we building and using tools in order to bring complex disparate data pieces into a singular view to allow us to make decisions in a smart way. So for us, whether it's A/B testing on ads we're putting on the market, landing pages that we're doing statistical analysis for, whether it's just day-to-day funnel analysis, looking at how many impressions are we making, what's the click-through rate, what's the MQLs we're getting, how many of those MQLs are turning into pipeline opportunities, how many of those opportunities are closing, what's our ROAS. All of those things are really, really important for us to look at, but it can be really hard when you look at the world of leading and lagging indicators that we all have to keep on top of, especially in a paid and organic media world. So for me, it's been super key for these tools, these AI enhanced tools to really help us kind of bring in that world of complexity and try to simplify it for us. So every day, I think we're always trying to find new ways in which we're layering data that allows us to build an extra version of our context that we just didn't think about prior. So for me, it is a matter of every day coming in and just looking at our flatline funnel, of course, leading indicators, so we can make sure that we're, by the end of the quarter, by the end of half year, by the end of the year, hitting our lagging indicators. But at the same time, there's so many little nuanced KPIs that we keep track of that it can feel overwhelming. And so it's been nearly impossible to really have that confidence without a tool set that you're confident in, regardless of what tool you go with. That's been the key for us, is really just being able to have a consolidator that can really bring all those complexities into a single view, especially when you're talking about multiple different platforms that and sometimes have their own lexicon and how they're talking about something and the metric they're referring to. So it's really, really key to be able to bring all of that into a single view. Otherwise, I do feel like a lot of people will get lost in the sauce. We'll call it that. But the data, there's a lot of data out there, and it's really more so about understanding the simple little levers that you need to have and understand on a day-to-day basis, defining those, putting that into a system that cohesively pulls it all together in a uniform way for you to be able to make contextual or to be able to make smart decisions. And that's been the key for me. Is we have a lot of data, but having that in a simple view is the only way we've been able to action on it. So.
Yeah, that as you were talking through the parts of that and the pieces of that, it made me want to ask the question. You complete the fifth on this, but what is that for you guys? What's in your MarTech stack that cleans that and centralizes it? Are you guys Power BI people, or do you have something else?
I will say one thing that I will promote, because I think this has actually been a transformative tool for my team specifically. We do use Power BI. We as just a general ability to pull in a lot of just disparate data. But for me alone, one of the bigger platforms that I've leaned on is Marin. Marin has been a big platform for me to really help consolidate the omni-channel that we are going to market with into a singular view. At the same time, being able to use different types of automations that we can build into the platform that allow us to really make sure that we're keeping on track and on top of certain KPIs that we've set based off of budget goals, based off of yearly, MQL opportunity, all sorts of different KPIs that we can input there, and ensure that our bidding automation is a little more on track to what we're actually trying to achieve as a company. So that's been the big platform that I and the team have leaned on quite a bit. There's a lot of automations that we lean on for that. Outside of that, it is a matter of using Power BI and other tools like visualization tools like Grow to be able to bring all of that into a singular place, from Salesforce to HubSpot, you name Outreach, everything into a single place that allows us to then understand the full funnel of our customer and buyer's journey in one place. So.
Yeah. I feel like I have that conversation on repeat with clients, is like at the very beginning of the conversation of, okay, what kind of access do you have to your own data? Is it all combined? Is it cleaned? Can you trust it? And we almost then spend usually several weeks or months just cleaning up data so that we can make decisions based on some sort of a baseline.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I wish I had $1 for every time I heard garbage in, garbage out. That's what I wish I had.
We'd have a lot of dollars.
A lot of dollars. Yeah.
As you guys are making some of these data-driven decisions, there's obviously like all the things you were saying about these like small kind of surrounding KPIs, micro conversions that can get really noisy, the leading indicators, and then you've got the lag, like the end of the year, end of the quarter, you got to hit those numbers. What are your go-to? You kind of spoke to this, but what are your go-to leading indicators? MQL counts, conversion rates between the steps. Are those the ones you lean on the most, or are there others?
Yeah, I mean, look, I would love to be in a world where I could report on my marketing effectiveness based off velocity. How quickly am I able to get someone through our buyer's journey into a customer position using X amount of assets that we put into market and put marketing behind. Unfortunately, that's just not how we work in the transactional SaaS world. So, absolutely the leading indicators are for me are, how many MQLs are we driving? Like how many people are coming to our site and converting to wanting to talk to us, wanting to take a demo, wanting to interact with us. Like those are the key things that we look to drive. Now, do I put other things out there that are focused on awareness? The KPIs that are driving that are more on how many impressions are we getting, how many engagements are we getting from those impressions, and what's the time on site and things like that. Absolutely looking at things like that for awareness campaigns and other efforts. But in majority of cases, especially if we're putting campaigns out there that are further down the funnel, the purest KPI that we're leaning on is how many MQLs are we driving. And in the end, though, the biggest thing that we have to really lean on is what's the ROAS. What am I spending and what is it returning? Like that's the big cahoots here. That am I 3-1, am I 4-1, or am I struggling?
Right. Are you just barely breaking even? And if you break even, you're actually losing money because of all the cogs and everything that goes into one is actually more
Right.
than one. Just some closing questions then. Kind of a lightning round, shoot from your gut. What is one MarTech tool that you couldn't live without?
It's actually more complex than you realize. Well, I know maybe you do realize we live in a Frankenstein's monster world of tools and marketing. So,
Yeah, don't make me pick one.
I mean, I'm gonna have to just call out the one that I did. It's Marin. Like the ability
Yeah.
to consolidate all of these different disparate platforms into a single view allows me to make decisions in a way that I haven't been able to do prior, and would spend hours just looking through each individual platform to come to the same conclusion.
What about your favorite book on marketing or business or branding?
Oh, that's actually funny you mentioned that. So I this is a recent one. I have a lot of books that I love. Whether it's so this one for me is Rick Rubin's newest book, uh, the Creative Act, A Way of Being. For me, is huge. I've made everyone on my team read this book as well. For me, it's really again that whole mindset of putting yourself in the right environment to innovate in a way that allows you to still be creative. It doesn't matter how much data, how much tools and everything that we put behind the work that we do. The work that we innately do is still extremely creative.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's always about making sure you're in the right mindset, the right environment to understand, the impact you can make with, data and how you can still be creative in that world. And I think it's key to still be creative in that world because again, we're moving to a world where the only way you can stand out is being personal and personalized. And one of the best ways to do that is to take all of this complexity and be able to simplify it in a way that allows you to be creative. And I'm really big on the types of environments you put yourself in, the things you surround yourself with in order to achieve that.
Context is key. Your
Mm-hmm.
environment, your mentality. Yeah, that's great. I'm going to pick that book up and add it onto my to be read. All right, next. Let's see. Favorite podcast, influencer, speaker, or channel?
Oh, so this is going to be a little off center. I do listen to a lot of just normal, marketing podcasts. I have there's a deep AI podcast that I listen to pretty often. But for me, it's Dan Carlin's Hardcore History. That for me,
Mm,
like I'm a huge history fanatic. I look,
classic.
I also believe that you learn a lot from things that have already been done. So why fail yourself when you can learn from the ones that have already been? So for me, that's a big thing that I love using. And so my team is probably annoyed by all the historical references I use whenever I talk to them. But
It's smart though. If you don't know your history, then you won't learn from it. You'll just repeat it.
yeah, it becomes cyclical. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, my 12-year-old is everything history. And so he shares facts all day long. And I love it. It's incredible. Let's see. What's one story, and you can plead the fifth on this one too, if you want. What's one story your team hasn't heard that might make their jaws drop when hearing it?
Well, I mean, I think probably one of the bigger ones is, well, I mean, I guess they probably wouldn't be too shocked with all the music stuff I have behind my back. But one of the things that a lot of people didn't know about me is it's a random fact, but it's actually it was a huge interesting experience for me. As I marched in the Macy's Day Parade um, back in 2010. So it was a little over 15 years ago, but I marched in the Macy's Day Parade. Was up at 4 o'clock in the morning down there in in New York. It was freezing. It was really cold. And marched. I was on the drum captain for the marching band that was marching through it, and did a whole show in front of millions of people, and it was an awesome experience. I was right in between, and this will definitely time bound me. But the float in front of me was David Archuleta, the American Idol contender, and then right behind me was the just in hot Hannah Montana, Miley Cyrus. So it's quite the odd sandwich. They were hard to follow and be followed by, but it was a unique experience.
You were
It
right in
was
the middle
awesome.
of the Americana zeitgeist of that year. Like
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
amazing.
exactly.
Talking about American history, that you made it. All right, cool. Well, last question then. What is a key marketing insight you know now you wish you knew 5 years ago?
I think for me, it's really just, again, the ability to do personalization at scale is so
Mm.
important. I think personalization's always been a focus. I mean, I've been preaching one to one, one to few, one to many for over a decade. But I think it's just been always so complex, and this whole idea of we want to do the ultimate one to one. Like ideally, everyone wants to do one to one. If we didn't have to do one to many or one to few, we wouldn't. But we do. Why? Because it's not scalable to do one to one. We can't do it. It's impossible. So for me, I think like that thing is just stuck through, and I think it's become more just impactful today with the ability to scale with reason. Has been really the ability to kind of flip that on its head. So I'm actually really looking forward and excited to the future of personalization at scale in ways that we haven't seen before. I mean, that's really what our whole job has been when it comes to marketing, is trying to personalize, but we haven't seen anything yet as far as where we'll get and how that will be distributed to the people. So I'm most excited about that. But I think that's been the big thing that I wish would have been the case, way back when.
That's a good one. You've got a good perspective and a good direction, and I'm excited to see where you guys go with it. But yeah, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Really enjoyed it.